This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. Welcome to Money Monday with Foster Financial, where we provide you with holistic financial advice that's relevant to what's going on right now. And I'm so thrilled to speak with Caleb Doane, who is the Vice President. Hello, Caleb.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you as well.
Okay, so today we're going to discuss long-term planning. And, right now we love to talk about what the markets are doing.
Yeah.
And we have seen so much change. It's like we're in whiplash.
Right.
So right now, what should people really be focused on?
Yeah, so so far year to date, we've seen a lot of volatility in the market. So we've seen big drops, we've seen big recoveries over the past few weeks here. And I think it's very easy to get kind of caught up in some of these short-term movements. And it's somewhat exciting too. I mean, you hear about the different tariff policies and things getting reversed and conversations with different countries.
Right.
So it's easy to focus on that. But a lot of things that we like to do with our clients is zoom out a little bit and say, okay, instead of focusing on, what's happened so far year to date, let's actually think about the long-term goals of our finances. Have those been impacted at all? And oftentimes these short-term fluctuations don't impact those long-term goals. And so when the market's down, it can be good to zoom out and say, hey, look, our retirement goal that we're still targeting, we're still able to reach that right now with our current projections. And even when the market's up, we can still say, great, we've seen some of these good returns, and that just helps out these long-term goals.
Yeah, so that's what I'm curious about. What all would qualify as a long-term goal and what you see with your clients?
Yeah, so it's really different for everyone, and that's why we customize it to the individual person. But for a lot of people who are working, it's a certain, age that they're targeting for retirement, or a certain, lifestyle that they want to live in retirement. And so we have these actually written down in our financial plans, and we check in on them with clients during our strategy meetings. And we can say, hey, we're still able to hit that retirement age that we're targeting, or, that home purchase that we were planning in a few years that's unaffected by some of these stock market fluctuations. Because oftentimes, when we have those built into the plan, we have, specific buckets of money set aside for that too. So a lot of times we keep, 3 to 5 years worth of withdrawals in conservative assets. That way, you can still have that, wedding for your child that you were planning on in a few years, or take those normal withdrawals even with market volatility.
Yeah, because that's interesting, because it's like people, of course, have different goals, as you see, but those long-term goals are actually good to have an advisor for. So I don't know if that always correlates. Normally with financial advisor, you're like, okay, I'm planning for retirement.
Right.
But those big purchases, so you're like buying a home, planning a wedding, maybe a large tour across Europe,
Yeah.
a nice little vacation. Any other ones that you see that are really popular that people can start getting in their heads, like, oh, maybe I should save for that?
Yeah, sometimes long-term care planning too. People say, hey, I want certain, money set aside for the possibility of going into a nursing facility later on, or, helping out family too. Maybe they want to help out grandkids with education expenses and set up 529 accounts for them. So, we like to have these long-term goals written out, and I think a lot of people have maybe a rough idea of what those long-term goals are, but we like to actually put pen to paper, put things down, understand what the goals are, and then make sure that we're actually on track towards that goal. And especially when that goal is, 5-10 years out, the stock market dropping a few percentage points doesn't change those long-term goals. And so if we still have a good contribution plan put in place, we expect certain recoveries to happen, it really doesn't impact those long-term goals, which is good for people to hear. When they see their statement is down, that can be helpful to know that, hey, my long-term goals aren't affected by this.
Right. So if someone does not have a financial advisor, are they, what advice would you give them as they're trying to figure out how to lay out these goals in particular?
Yeah, I think, some of those goals, oftentimes people just default to certain rules of thumb that they have, where they say, I want to retire by a certain age, but I don't really know how to get there, so I've heard I'm supposed to contribute, 10% to my retirement account, and so they do that. But really, those rules of thumb are very different depending on, do you have a pension? What age are you trying to retire? What sort of lifestyle are you living? What's Social Security going to replace for you? How much do we want to rely on Social Security?
Yeah.
And so it's really tough without a comprehensive financial plan to have that clarity and confidence. And so that's one of the big things that a financial advisor is able to add. So we love when people come in and they say, hey, retirement's 10 years out, here's my goal, how do I get there? And then we can dive deep on those goals and really establish a plan for them.
Okay, awesome. And you all offer your complimentary consultations, right? So it's just as easy just to call you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks, Caleb.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you would like more information about Foster Financial, we'll have that phone number listed below, and I'll see you after the break. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.